Hosted by you/horror ad 221. I, 20, non-binary, live with my parents, both in their 50s, and my two sisters, 20F and 19F. For as long as I can remember, my parents have had financial difficulties. For the past 4 months, I have paid all of my parents' rent. While I don't make that much, I work 50 hours a week most weeks due to understaffing, so I get a pretty sizable paycheck. Plus, most of the time, I'm able to set aside some money for savings. However, in these past months, every one of my dad's paychecks, he makes the most money out of all of us, has been garnished or completely gone before he ever receives them. Unfortunately, I get paid on the exact same days as him, so the majority of my paychecks and all of my savings have gone toward paying bills. 2 weeks ago, my dad didn't get his paycheck, and I ended up overdrawing my bank account by $1,000. It was an accident, as I had forgotten about a payment I had made that had yet to show up. So, when I got my paycheck on Friday, it was only $100, and my dad immediately asked for $80 of it. I had already told my parents I wouldn't be able to help financially for the next 2 weeks, and again, my dad didn't get his check. Now my parents are scrambling to gather money to avoid our utilities being cut off. My college does this thing, I don't know if every college does this or not, where you pay the full amount of your tuition, and then at the end of the semester, you get the amount of scholarships and financial aid refunded to you. There is a deadline to claim the money, but they hold it for you if you miss it. For most of the 2 years I've been attending, I've forgotten to do that, so the money has been sitting around. I missed the December deadline for the fall semester, but I got a head start on spring, knowing that I would forget, and it's my last year at that college because I'm transferring to another one. I promptly forgot about it, lol. Well, on Friday, I received an email from the bank system my college uses, informing me that I would be receiving the money. I shrugged it off because, most of the time, I get my money from that kind of thing really late. So, even though the email said 1 to 2 business days, I was expecting it to arrive in June. Imagine my surprise when I saw it in my account that same day. Considering it had been sitting there for 2 years, it was a fair amount. I'm by no means rich or anything, but it was certainly more than I had been expecting. I paid a bill that I hadn't been able to, and the majority of the money is just sitting in my bank account. It's been 2 days, and I haven't mentioned anything about it. My parents never even knew I was getting money from my college due to my forgetfulness. I know this money could help ensure that none of our utilities get cut off, but I can't seem to bring myself to tell them. I'm moving out soon, so this money could give me some breathing room or go toward my classes this summer, so I really want to save it and let my parents assume I only have $20 to my name. However, if the utilities get cut off, I'll be affected as well. I feel like such a jerk for not telling my parents about the money. I know I'm just being selfish, but I'm so tired of every penny I make going toward my family's bills. I know my mom feels extremely guilty every time they ask for help, but it's something they have to do to survive. So, am I wrong for doing this? Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, here you go. My parents have a lot of payday loans from my childhood, other loans, and they owe money to the state and IRS. At one point, my dad was accused of having a gambling addiction. It runs in his family, and he did have one at one point, but my parents have talked this out. My dad's company also has terrible communication, so we have no way of knowing when his wages will be garnished or why until he gets paid. Everyone works, but my dad and I make the most money. My mom works a minimum wage job, and my sisters work part-time minimum wage jobs. My mom and my 20-year-old sister do help pay bills, but my younger sister does not. She's the type who gets a little bit of money and spends it wildly. My parents pay for a lot of her stuff without ever seeing a dime in return. They're trying to stop that, but it's extremely difficult due to other factors that I won't get into here since it's unrelated to money. The reason I make a lot is because I'm a lifeguard, and due to the shortage, we're paid well. As many of you have suggested, I'm moving out. I'm relocating to a different city this summer for classes. I honestly don't think I need to go to the extreme some of you suggested. My bank account is separate from theirs, though we do use the same bank. My parents don't try to sneakily take my money, and the few times my dad has tried, I've called him out and berated him. My mom feels extremely guilty about the entire situation, so I don't see her doing anything underhanded, and I've set strict guidelines with my dad. I also have tons of notifications set up for both my credit card and bank account, so if even $1 gets spent, I'll know. No, I won't be getting back the money I've given to my parents, and I'm not going to try. I don't want to become another thing they have to pay off, though I will follow some of your other suggestions. My parents are aware, and I will remind them when I leave that I won't be able to help pay bills anymore. I'll be reducing my hours at work and have my own bills to cover, like school and rent for the apartment. Update 13 days later. I'm still living with my parents and 2 sisters for now, but I'm moving out next month. Last night, my dad decided to play a joke on me. He took my card and withdrew 90% of the money from my checking account. For those wondering about the college money I mentioned in the previous post, it's in a savings account at another institution, so it's safe. He then put my card back in its original spot and went to work. He did all of this around midnight. I woke up in the morning to find most of my money gone. My first thought was that my dad had taken my card without asking, but it was still in my wallet, exactly where I left it. I assumed someone had cloned my card and guessed my PIN. I quickly sent a text to my mom and called my bank. I spent quite a while on the phone, feeling so anxious that I was practically sobbing, and I'm not the type of person who cries easily. That money was meant for my deposit and June rent. Then I went into the living room and heard my mom arguing. I couldn't make out much, but I heard her scream, "What made you think it was a good idea?" Instantly, dread filled me. I walked to my parents' room and saw my mom on the phone, arguing with my dad. According to my dad, he found our cat playing with my card, so he decided to take it and withdraw my money to teach me a lesson about leaving my card lying around, then went to work. He apologized to me, but I just handed the phone back to my mom and stormed out of the room. This wasn't the first time he pulled something like this. He once took all my money and then lost it. He claimed it was to teach me a lesson for leaving my card around the house. Later, in private, he admitted that he took the money because he thought I was lying about how much I had. I had been saving that money for a medical procedure, hiding it because my family is always in financial distress, and I knew he'd ask for it if he found out. I was just done living in constant pain. Anyway, there were clear flaws in the story my dad told us. First, I had my card in my wallet, exactly where I left it, so taking it would have been a separate trip from going to work. Also, neither my wallet nor my card showed any sign of damage. My dad works out of the city, which is a 1.5 hour drive from where we live. My mom said she would drive me to his workplace to pick up the money, as we don't trust him to hold on to it until he's done working, given what happened last time. He protested, saying that it would use too much gas and insisted that he would drive down instead, claiming it would use the same amount of gas. This made my mom suspicious, practically confirming in her mind that he might have started gambling again. My dad had a gambling addiction when I was younger, but he got help and had been clean for a while. To her, his insistence on not letting us come to his work was a red flag. He came home and returned all the money to me. Yes, I counted it over and over to make sure. He apologized, and I said nothing. My mom mentioned that he didn't sound sincere. My dad blew up at her, saying he had already apologized over the phone and that he was obviously sorry for what happened. Later, he apologized to me again, but I ignored it, and he hasn't been speaking to my mom since. My mom told me she's planning to talk to a lawyer. She's absolutely torn up about it. There have been so many issues in their relationship over the past year, but this seems to be the final straw, pushing her to consider ending their 40-year marriage. My sisters don't know what's going on, or if they do, they don't know the full situation. I told my mom that once I move out, I might go no contact with my dad. She got sad but said she doesn't blame me after everything he's put me through. I'm honestly emotionally drained and dreading calling my bank back. My mom had this great weekend planned for us, but now there's an overwhelming feeling of dread and tension over everything. I was finally going to do something for myself that I had worked up the nerve to ask my mom about, but it had to be cancelled. Honestly, if it weren't for the fact that I'm moving out soon, I would have called my friend and moved out today. I'm just done with my dad in this situation. At the same time, I feel such overwhelming guilt. I know I did the right thing, that I had to tell my mom and protect myself financially, but I don't know. I feel responsible for my parents separating, and my mom and I are the only ones who know, even though my dad made his choice. I love my dad, and I still want a close relationship with him like I never had, yet I can't imagine ever talking to him again after he put me through all of this. I also feel like I'm too emotional and hasty to make these decisions since all of this happened today. Maybe I just need confirmation that I am doing the right thing. Second update 15 days later. I know it's been 2 weeks since my last post, but a lot has happened since then. My parents are getting a divorce, and I have mixed feelings about it. My mom started tracking my dad. I know it's an invasion of privacy, but it was the only way to be sure. Multiple times, the tracker has shown him at a casino when he claimed he was working. My mom also discovered that he's been getting his paycheck 2 days early and hasn't been telling anyone. Last Wednesday, my mom called a lawyer to discuss her next move. My dad isn't fighting the divorce, which is honestly destroying my mom. Yesterday, we got an eviction notice stating we have to be out by the end of the month. This has happened before, but my dad always explained it away. Apparently, my dad hasn't paid the rent in 4 months. My dad hasn't said anything about this. He now knows we're all seeing through him and his act. My mom and younger sister are going to live with my maternal grandparents, and my other sister and I are moving into our own apartment at the end of the week. This makes me extremely angry because my parents got the money from me to pay the rent, but instead, it was going toward my dad's gambling. I did the math for how much I've given them this year, and I'm horrified. It's over $10,000. All my savings for college and so many of my paychecks that I sacrificed to help my family have actually gone to feed my dad's gambling addiction. I feel so used and like a fool. I feel so betrayed. My mom has told me she doesn't want me to go no contact with my dad. She wants to hold family dinners once everything has settled down and she has a place, and she plans to invite my dad. My mom still loves my dad and keeps saying that he's sick. I know this, I know he's not well and that he's lost control, but I'm not sure if I can keep him in my life. He used me and manipulated me. I feel less like his child and more like his walking bank account. He broke our family, and even if it's because he's sick, I don't know if I can move past it. I know it would destroy my mom if I cut my dad out of my life. I know you all said I'm not the jerk in my last post, but I still feel like one. I might add more later, as I have to go to work. Edit. Adding some details I forgot in a rush to go to work. One of the reasons my mom wants to hold these dinners is to give my dad a reason to get help. I honestly don't think that will work. First, my dad barely spent time with us or participated in anything even when he lived with us, so I doubt he'll attend. Second, if the looming threat of divorce didn't push him to change, I don't think weekly dinners will. I have a really good relationship with my mom, and I do want to go to those dinners to spend time with her, but I'm not sure if I can face my dad if he decides to show up. My mom wants me to have a good relationship with my dad, which is why she doesn't want me to go no contact with him. Some of it likely comes from her own guilt about the situation and the fact that I'm the person she often turns to for help. Also, a lot of you have been confused about why I felt responsible for my parents' divorce. Like I mentioned, this is an update to a previous post. For context, I woke up one day and saw that my money was stolen. I told my mom, and she figured out that it was my dad. This made her realize that she needed to divorce him because of his ongoing lies. My mom has never blamed me for any of this, it was just how I was feeling in the moment. I've since gotten over that guilt. Many of you have suggested that I try to get my money back from my dad, but I'm not sure. I've made peace with not getting it back. I'm not planning to take him to court. My life is already chaotic without adding a legal battle over my dad's gambling addiction. Plus, I don't really have any solid proof to present in court since I just gave the money to my mom without any digital trail specifying what it was for. It would turn into a he said they said situation, and honestly, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to move past this. Third update 20 days later. Hi all, I'm currently living in my own apartment with my sister and a roommate, 19M. We moved in about 2 weeks ago. Due to events from a previous post, my sister and I are the only ones in the family who aren't homeless. My dad has been living in his car and staying in hotels when possible. Recently, my dad was hospitalized for a number of reasons, I won't go into detail. He's going to be released soon, but some of the medical advice he'll receive can't be followed because he's homeless. My parents haven't told the hospital about his situation or that they're in the middle of a divorce, and my mom is scared of what that might mean for him. My mom has asked me to talk to my roommates about how they'd feel if my dad lived with us temporarily. I agree too, but honestly, I don't want to have him here. This might sound selfish, but he would have to stay in my room because he works nights. He won't stay in my sister's room since it's hyper-feminine and only separated from the living room by a curtain. Since I have the actual room, he'd be sleeping in mine. Our schedules are pretty reversed, so we rarely see each other except on my days off, but I really hate the idea. In our previous house, I had to share my room with my mom because she worked from home. This meant that anyone could barge in whenever they felt like it. Now, I finally have my own space where no one can intrude, and not even 2 weeks later, it feels like it might be taken away. On top of that, I'm currently job hunting since I've moved to a new city and no longer want to commute 3 hours each way. I have a few phone interviews lined up for my days off, and I don't feel comfortable doing them in the living room because my roommates also have those days off, and I hate talking on the phone in front of others. My dad has also not acknowledged that he's done anything wrong. I'm still pissed at him. He can't stay with my mom and other sister because my maternal grandparents hate his guts at the moment. He can't ask any of his family because they're abusive, and he doesn't want to admit how bad his situation has gotten. So that just leaves me and my sister. My dad already doesn't like our roommate due to his sexism and toxic masculinity. I don't think he'll act out in any obvious way, but I really don't want to put him in a situation where he might have to deal with that. I haven't told my roommates yet because they had already left when my mom asked, and I don't want to ruin their event or have this conversation over text. I'm very tempted to lay out all the reasons it would be a bad idea so that they agree we can't do it, so I'm not the jerk, but I don't like the idea of manipulating them. My mom said my dad probably wouldn't accept the offer, but I'm not sure I can even make the offer. Hotels aren't an option because none of us have the money for them, and my dad will likely be paying off this hospital trip for a while. I honestly feel like I'm screwed either way. Fourth update 3 months later. So yesterday was my dad's birthday. I have been pretty much no contact with him since my last post about him, only really seeing him here and there. My dad has reached out to me once, but I didn't respond. He's never apologized for what he's done. For the past week, I had been debating whether I should send him a text. No matter what, I decided I wasn't going to get him anything after all the money he took from me. Then, on Wednesday, my phone got stolen. I spent most of Wednesday and yesterday trying to find it and come up with solutions so I could do all the things I needed to do. I thought that was my answer to whether I should text my dad. Yesterday, I got a new phone and was talking to my mom. She texted me, saying I needed to send my dad a message. She always reminds me to send birthday and holiday texts since I'm notorious for forgetting. I said I would do it later, as I still hadn't decided if I was going to. She then told me that she gave my dad $20 on my behalf. I was shocked. She said all my siblings had agreed to send him $20 for a hotel room. We all know he'll probably gamble it away. I had never agreed to this. Due to my stolen phone, I had been pretty much out of contact, though I had still talked to her through my roommates. She also could have waited and asked if I was okay with it, which I would have said no to. I don't think my mom will ask for the $20 back, she just seemed to do it in my name. Regardless, I was pissed. So, I didn't text my dad because I wanted to make sure he knew that I haven't forgiven him and that we don't have a relationship anymore. I also did it to spite my mom for putting my name on a gift I never agreed to.